I had a new neighbor move in across the hall. Not the loud kind. No friends helping him move. No laughter. No music bleeding through the walls. Just one guy. I noticed him the first night because my apartment building has this habit. Even when someone closes a door gently, the hallway still makes it echo. Like the building wants you to know someone new is here. I heard his door shut. And then, nothing. I didn't see him again for a few days. When I finally did, he was standing just outside his apartment, hand on the knob, like he'd forgotten what he was supposed to do next. He looked timid, anxious, like he didn't feel like he belonged, not just in the building, but anywhere. And that feeling, I knew it well. Moving into a new place messes with your head. You don't know the unspoken rules yet. You don't know who's normal, who's loud, who's dangerous. You don't even know which sounds are harmless. So I figured I'd try to help him feel welcome. Nothing dramatic, just a simple gesture. I didn't do it right away, though. I waited, watched him come and go. Noticed how he never seemed to leave at the same time 2 days in a row. Noticed how sometimes he'd pause in the hallway like he was listening for something, or someone. After about 2 weeks, I decided that was long enough. I knocked on his door with a bottle of wine and some homemade chocolate chip cookies. No answer, which honestly was fair. I wouldn't open the door either. So instead, I wrote him a short note, just a welcome to the neighborhood kind of thing. I signed it, from the guy across from you. I left everything on his welcome mat and went back to my apartment. The next morning, on my way to work, the wine and cookies were gone. I remember thinking, I really hope he took those, because the alternative was uncomfortable. That night when I got home, I had my answer. Sitting on my own welcome mat was the exact same bottle of wine I'd given him, only bigger. Next to it was a plate of chocolate chip cookies and a note from the guy across from you. I smiled. I won't lie. There was something kind of charming about it. I brought everything inside and tried the cookies. They were incredible. Soft in the middle, crisp around the edges. Perfect. So good, in fact, that I found myself wondering whether he'd baked them himself, or if he'd just somehow known exactly where to buy cookies that tasted like mine. I popped the cork on the wine and poured myself a glass. 1 glass turned into 2. 2 turned into 3. That's when I heard the knock. I checked the peephole. He was standing there. And for just a second, I had the strange sensation that he was staring directly back at me, like he knew I was watching him. I opened the door and said, "Well, howdy there, neighbor. How can I help you?" He smiled, but even through the alcohol haze, I could tell something was off about it. It wasn't natural. It was practiced. "Were you the one that left me the cookies?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Hope you liked them. Yours were incredible." His smile widened. He rocked back and forth slightly on his heels. They were a little burnt," he said. "But I'm thrilled you liked the ones I left." I blinked. "Burnt?" I asked. "Did you say burnt?" "Oh, it's nothing," he said quickly. "Just a little crispy. No worries." The way he said it, like he was reassuring himself, made my stomach twist. "Man, I'm sorry," I muttered. "Guess I left him in too long." He threw his hands up. "No problem at all, dude." He said the word like he was trying it out for the first time. He introduced himself as Daniel. I told him my name was Donovan. There was a pause after I said it, just a fraction of a second too long. "Donovan," he repeated, slowly, carefully, like he was testing how it felt in his mouth. Feeling unusually social thanks to the wine, I invited him inside, told him we could have a couple of drinks and talk for a bit. He agreed. We sat at the bar in my kitchen, and for a while, everything felt normal. We talked about work, about the building, about how thin the walls were. But something didn't sit right. No matter how many times I offered him a drink, he refused. Every time, politely, almost rehearsed. It wasn't offensive, it wasn't rude, it was just strange. Because drinks were the whole reason I'd invited him in. Still, I brushed it off. Maybe he didn't drink. Maybe he was recovering. Maybe I was overthinking things. Eventually, my head started spinning. The room felt too warm. I told him I needed to lie down. He stood, thanked me for the conversation, and then stepped forward and hugged me. It wasn't a quick, polite hug. It was long, tight, too tight. I hesitated, then hugged him back. He smelled familiar, not just similar, exactly familiar. The same cheap soap I used, the same detergent. I sent him on his way, then spent the next 15 minutes kneeling in front of my toilet, making promises to myself I'd already broken before. I passed out the second my head hit the pillow. When I woke up, the first thing I noticed was the quiet. The second thing was my closet. Half my clothes were gone. Not rummaged through, not tossed aside. Gone. Shirts missing from hangers, shoes gone from the floor. Everything taken neatly, like someone knew exactly what they wanted. I called out of work immediately. Then I called the police. When they arrived, they looked bored. No forced entry, no broken locks, just missing clothes. They took notes, asked questions, left. I didn't have the energy to care anymore. My body felt like it was punishing me for the night before. I went back to sleep. I woke up later that night, drenched in sweat. My mouth felt like sandpaper. I stumbled into the kitchen and drank water straight from the tap. That's when I noticed the shadows. They moved under my front door, back and forth, slow, footsteps. Curious and against my better judgment, I looked through the peephole. Daniel was pacing in front of my door, wearing my favorite flannel, my black Nike Air Maxes. Same dirt stains, same scuffed heel, same stitched D on the chest pocket. He stopped mid-step, slowly turned his head. His eyes weren't brown anymore. They were electric blue. My blue. His smile stretched wider than it should have. He raised his fist and knocked, lightly. I opened the door before I could think better of it. "Howdy, neighbor," he said. "How can I help you?" I stared at him. "You're wearing my clothes," I said. "Those were stolen. Just give them back. I don't want to call the police again." He tilted his head. "These?" he said. "I've had these as long as I can remember." He smiled. "Someone stole your clothes? That's odd." I knew he was lying. "Give them back," I said. "We can pretend this never happened." He didn't respond. He just stared at me, mirroring my posture, my breathing. After a long moment, his smile vanished. "If you're gonna be this way," he said, voice flat, "I'm gonna have to get the police involved." Then he turned and went back into his apartment. I locked my door and told myself I'd call in the morning. I should have called the police that night. The second the lock clicked shut, I should have grabbed my phone and dialed. I knew that. But instead, I told myself I already knew who did it. He lived right across the hall. What more proof did I need? So I went back to bed. The next thing I knew, someone was pounding on my door. Not knocking, pounding. "Gainesville City Police Department, open up!" My heart dropped into my stomach. I stumbled to the door and opened it. 2 officers stood in the hallway. Daniel stood between them. But he looked different. His hair wasn't curly anymore. It was straight, brown, just like mine. "Sir," one of the officers said, "we're going to need to search this apartment." I laughed, a short, nervous sound. "You'll need a warrant." The other officer raised a piece of paper inches from my face. "Right here. Donovan here has you on tape." I felt dizzy. "I'm Donovan," I said. "I called you yesterday. That guy stole my clothes." Daniel shook his head slowly. "He's confused," he said. "He's been stealing my things, pretending to be me." I snapped. "No, you know that's not true." One officer placed a hand on my chest. The other rested his hand near his gun. "Do you have an ID?" he asked. Of course I did. I handed it to him without looking. Both officers went quiet. "Sir," one said, "we need to come inside." "That's my ID," I said. "That's me." He turned it around. It wasn't. The picture was Daniel. Brown hair, blue eyes, my birthday, my name. "So you stole my wallet too?" Daniel asked softly. The officers pushed past me. They searched everything. Closet, bathroom, bedroom. "Found it," one of them called out. "This matches what Donovan reported missing." Hands grabbed me. I fought. I screamed. I was cuffed and thrown into the back of a cruiser in my pajamas. At the station, they fingerprinted me. "Turn to the side, Mr. Matthew," the woman said. "That's not my name." She laughed. "Fingerprint system says otherwise." I shouted. I begged. I swore. She read off crimes I didn't recognize. Identity theft, burglary, fraud. I was placed in a cell. A guard leaned over. "We got you on tape, Daniel." Tape. I splashed water on my face, looked at the metal mirror. My eyes were brown. My freckles were fading. My hair looked lighter. The memories started coming. Things I didn't remember doing, but somehow remembered. Taking clothes, lying, smiling. On the day of the hearing, I saw the footage. It was me, stealing. Daniel sleeping peacefully. The gavel fell. 14 months. 6 months in, I got a visitor. Daniel, wearing my face. "Howdy, neighbor."